What's up, Trekkies? Hi, so there is story news going on today. I'm not gonna go into that one because this is, again, a special video. It's been a week since the damn thing came out, and apparently according to my Fleet Chat and several things that some of people have read on like Reddit and all the various other places, apparently the skull system is ridiculously complex. And I mean, like, the questions I've been asked in my Fleet Chat are just like, oh, I can't. I want to reach my fingers in my throat and pull out my esophagus. And yeah, I'm being rude because they literally took System 1.0 and it was how it was for like a year. Then they went, you know what? We really don't need a lot of these things like anomalies. Yeah, so they basically moved like they split anomalies apart from Tychon's Rift and Gravity Well and they put Tychon's Rift down into flow capacitors, and they put Gravity Well down into graviton generators, and they put the damage of both of those into particle generators. Because anomalies used to be way up at the end, way out at the end, in the Admiral level. So if you wanted to spec anomaly for a science vessel, you had to put in a lot of points. Side note, the articles and stuff, the Seek and Destroy and the Once Per Year, which are kind of cute to read, they're down below. Past 9 o'clock, there is an ARC weekly up, but who knows? We are going to go into the skill tree. Let me start up my broadcasting thing. I mean, I have it planned out, I just didn't start up all the necessary programs. Now we're down here in the corner. I went to our Fleet Spire because it's bright. I mean, this is relatively a dark space game, so I figured let's just go to, you know, the Spire. It's bright, there's actually a sky, so that, you know what I mean, why have it all dark all the time? That's the Anorak ship. It's costumed with, I know people are probably wondering, visuals, where are you? It's costumed with the Dyson regenerative shield, like shines in weird times. Anyways, to the skills. All right, let's go over this whole damn thing. Watch out for the mouse pointer because I will be referencing stuff there. So this is the skill tree. That's ground, that's your specialization. Here's all the ones. So this is the entire skill tree thing. I've unlocked most of everything, so I'll be able to extrapolate more as to what things are. You'll be able to see what I spec'd into for my stuff. The basic overview for the lieutenant level is basic things about your ship. To go over these, it's just hull restoration, 1, 2, and 3. Hull capacity, 1, 2, and 3. Just think of it this way, 1, 2, and 3. Shield restoration, so your shield healing, 1, 2, and 3. Shield capacity, 1, 2, and 3. Energy weapon training, or damage, 1, 2, and 3. And then projectile, so torpedo damage, 1, 2, and 3. Now, there is diminishing returns. The thing is, there was diminishing returns before. That's why we had green, yellow, and red. Now, 1, 2, and 3 are just green, yellow, and red, except for things later. If there's 3, just think of it as a green, yellow, red. If there's, like, as you can see down to Lieutenant Commander, for the science there, and then the engineering one, there's 1, and then it splits off into 2. That's a special-ish ability, and then 2 different ways to enhance it if you want to, or both. As you can, you know, it's because. Now, to talk about the diminishing returns, we'll talk about because the shield capacity, because I have that one. So shield capacity gives you plus 50 shield capacity, which is plus 15 total max shield bonus. That's awesome. It's 1 skill point. Everything here takes 1 skill point, so that's great. You don't have to do weird math. You had 46 skills. That's what you put in. You got 43 of these things to light up. And then the next one gives you 35. So you have 15 less than you got before. And then number 3 is 15, so you have 20 less than you had before. So in total, putting all 3 points in, yeah, you get 100, but you start out with 50, then only get 85, then get 100. So if you're not really keen on your shield capacity, sure, put 1 in. The problem is you need to have certain points to get up to Lieutenant Commander, then to Commander, and then to Captain, and then to Admiral. So you need to put points in someplace. So when I spec'd my other character, I basically went through them at 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because it's just base level crap. Hull restoration. That's just hull. Base amount healed. Hull capacity. Increase your hull capacity. You take more damage. Shield restoration. Ba-boom. It's just this base level stuff. You don't need to go to level 3, but having a level 1 is very nice. Then you can say, well, I fly more, you know, hull heavy cruisers. Okay, well then you may want to get your hull capacity increased. And maybe your hull regeneration. And then I fire a whole lot of my weapons. I don't really personally, so I only have 2 in there because I do try to get all my weapons facing forward. And I know a lot of my ships are dependent on it. But I don't use a lot of torpedoes. So I don't use So I only have one in there just because I needed 1 point in there. And I do use a torpedo. That's it. I don't need to explain anything more about that. That's just 1, 2, and 3 of each of those. Next level at Lieutenant Commander is Electroplasma Systems. This is EPS. This is the old EPS system. Electroplasma plus 60. Just put a point in there, plus 60. That is, total power transfer rate, 60%. That's cool. Good to go. That's when you drain your weapon power because you fire a lot of weapons, it'll build back faster. So that's a good thing to put points into. Also, when you're coming out of full impulse, when everything goes back to normal, that's that. EPS is kind of a necessary thing. And then there's improved EPS flow. Well, it says your base power transfer rate will be maximum of 5 subsystem power to be added or subtracted from a subsystem every 1 second, which is pretty good. A bonus of 100% will remove the same amount of subsystem power twice as quickly, so every half second. Basically 10 a second, but you're still doing, so that's the time in which it goes down. It's still distance over time. They're just decreasing the time, you're still getting the same speed. You're getting an increased speed. And then there's full impulse energy shunt, which basically says when you're at full impulse, you go to 125, not 120. Yeah, these targets are increased to 125 for your engine subsystem and 25 in all other subsystems. So you recover a little bit faster because rather than going to 5 at full impulse, you're at 25. So that's good, and you'll build back faster so that in case you come out firing all weapons from full impulse, yay! That's pretty much that. That's what those are. And then this thing is impulse expertise. This is impulse expertise. You go faster. It's your speed and turn rate in system space, not sector space. That's something else. That has 1, 2, and 3. Again, diminishing returns. 1, 2, 3. If you really want to turn, boom, there's your thing. You can put it up there. Now, these 2 science abilities apparently are the most confusing. As well as some tactical abilities. Control expertise. Literally, this is, and I'm going to explain this very, very effectively here. This tooltip is big, but it's not hard. If you use a tractor beam, if you use a gravity well, if you don't like to be rocked by a tractor beam, say the Plexbrecht frigates, or you don't like to be held back by an Undine rift or a gravity well, or you don't like to be pushed by a photonic shockwave, if you do that PvP thing, confuse, jam sensors, placate, forget what placates. Flight speed debuffs. Could be anything like a chronoton torpedo. There's a flight speed debuff, a turn rate debuff, chronoton torpedoes again. They hit you and you can't really turn really well. Guess what? This helps that. This is the offense and the defense. So probably if you want to get, if you want to build up your resistance to control effects, you should put a point into this. Also, if you do a lot of controlling with your ship abilities, you want to put points into this. Going down here, improve control expertise. Guess what? All of that crap, more powerful. This special ability, control amplification, it says activating any ability that causes an enemy to suffer a control effect. Is like tractor beam, photonic shockwave, gravity well, jam sensors, viral matrix, just all this stuff that can temporarily reduce their damage resistance rating. Subsequent activation will refresh the duration. Control effects that continuously apply, gravity well is a dot, will only trigger this effect on the first application. What it does is minus 35 all damage resistance for 10 seconds. That's pretty cool. That's really freaking awesome, especially when, if you drop it on, even on a Borg cube. Here's the thing, you drop it on a Borg cube, they don't move Borg cubes. It doesn't move stuff, but you're applying a damage resistance debuff, so you benefit the rest of your team. Or if you grab something in a tractor beam and you want to blast the hell out of it, go ahead. Guess what? You probably want that. This is actually more of a science officer thing, but I can definitely see some people using it that aren't necessarily science. Maybe some of the more heavy cruisers, that like tractor beam and then broadside something, that could be a use for it. See, at least now it doesn't. Yeah. So now we're moving over to drain expertise. This apparently, as I just found out in the fleet this morning, is one of the more confusing things because there is this perceived necessary console called the plasmonic leech. I got one as out of a box and I wasn't sure if I wanted to use it, is the thing. I didn't know really what I had until I looked it up and went, oh, that sounds pretty cool. So I pulled it out of the box and I equipped it. I didn't realize that, 2 years later, it was going to be one of these like, I need this console so badly. People will pay literally out the ass. Like there is colonoscopies done for people to get that console. Guess what? That's it. If you use the console and you don't really know what it does because it drains subsystem power. Literally it says on the tooltip, here is the plasmonic leech. steals target power. The concept there, to the target, to self. That is draining in and of itself. Leech, draining. You want drain expertise. This is also what power insulators used to be. If you are fighting a lot of Voth and they drop that Tychon's Drift on you and you're like, well, crap, I have no subsystem power. Drain expertise. That'll help. That'll lessen it. It'll also lessen your subsystem offlines in case you're in PvP and some science vessel decides to shoot your shield system power out. It's subsystem offline. It'll stay offline for less time. It'll also resist their drain. Shield drain. Tachyon beam, same thing. The quantum torpedo. That one that was from the previous. You are right here. The quantum phase torpedo. That one. Hello. That deals with draining because it's shield damage. Improved drain expertise. Drain expertise 2.0. Does more damage. Drain infection. This is not necessarily something that everyone's going to be picking up, but if you do a lot of draining with an energy siphon or a Tychon's Rift or a tachyon beam or subsystem power, if you drain subsystem power like on a science vessel, you're going to want drain stuff. You're going to want drain expertise. You probably also want, so it says at any time you cause an enemy to suffer an energy drain or shield drain, so like I said, all that. They will also be afflicted with short duration electrical damage effect as their EPS conduits overload. This effect may only be applied once to a target per source. Subsequent applications refresh the duration of the existing effects. This says 825 electrical damage every second for 10 seconds. This is like any time you use. So if you tachyon beam the hell out of things, you're probably going to want this. I mean, if you literally are like, tachyon beam is on cooldown, sure. I'm not sure if this applies to the plasmonic leech, but it might. The thing is, I drain so much with Tychon's Rift and tachyon beam and subsystem power. I drain so much. They pretty much always have electrical damage on them. And it's so terrible because I also have just a little side note, I also have the draining, the deteriorating secondary deflector, so tachyon beam, energy siphon, which I don't use, Tychon's Rift, destabilizing resonance beam, that also applies a radiation dot. So I have a lot of dots going on the things right now. When it comes over here to the targeting thing, that's accuracy. This is targeting expertise. It says it's got math in there, but it's so that you're better equipped to understand what this skill is doing. It's just accuracy. It says at the very bottom, it's called targeting expertise, but it's just accuracy. It's accuracy 1, 2, and 3. Over here, defense maneuvering. That's literally just your raw defense. That's the accuracy and defense. They combat each other. That's defense 1, 2, and 3. Those are very simple. I don't need to explain them like I did the science. We'll have to explain some tactical later. Now we're going down to commander. This skill reduces the damage taken from all incoming sources of damage by providing you with damage resistance rating. This is literally all damage resistance rating. It has to split into energy and kinetic because the consoles do it differently and whatnot, but that's the thing. This is just pure damage resistance rating. This is you taking less damage. This is like putting armor on in other MMOs or putting on a ring that resists all. That's it. That's all this is. Probably want to put that up, put a point into it, because it helps. Then they've got energized hull plating, which is energy damage resistance. And then they've got ablative hull plating, which is kinetic damage resistance 2.0. They split them both because, it may not take a lot of energy damage. Or I have a whole shit ton of shields. So I don't need that. I don't need energized. But in case my shields go away, I'm going to want to have more kinetic. Do I have a console that does kinetic? No. And then the other thing is called damage control. This skill increases the rate at which your hull passively repaired over time. Hull regeneration. That's it. There's another thing that affects crew. The other one might just be your hull healing. Hull restoration. Base healing bonus. Okay, so that's like engineering team, hazard emitters, miracle worker. So my mistake earlier. We're fixing it now. Damage control, that's where crew used to be. Your passive hull regeneration. Your base regeneration value is reduced to 20% of its full value in combat. That's that. That's what damage control is, 1, 2, and 3. Passive hull repair. Over here in science, shield regeneration. Shield regeneration, 1, 2, and 3. Shield hardness. By default, each point in shield subsystem power negates 0.2% of the damage that your shields take. Every additional point of shield hardness skill will negate an additional 0.2% regardless of your current shield subsystem power. This gives 10% additional shield damage negation. Flat out negation. 1, 2, and 3. all the way up to, so it's 10%, 15, 16%, and then you add another 4% when you go up to 3. So a total of 20% damage just nullified. That's great. I like it. There's other things that help increase that. What's over here in tactical that I didn't put points into? Weapon amplification. That's crit severity. Crit severity 1, 2, and 3. This is really simple, folks, and I know if you feel bad, I'm really trying to explain this really simple system. It gets a little complicated when we get downstairs, you'll see what I mean, but this is weapon amplification, that's crit severity 1, 2, and 3. Remember what we talked about before with the diminishing returns. Weapon specialization, crit chance 1, 2, and 3. That's what it is. It's just, like with the old system, if you put 1 point into it, you put 3 points of green. If you put 2 points into it, you put 3 points of yellow. If you put 3 points into this, you put all points into it, all 9 points. That's that. Moving down to captain. Looks like defensive subsystem tuning, plus 4.8 shields and aux power. So it's just raw subsystem power. That's it. And then each of them beneath it are shield and aux 2.0. I'm science vessel, so I put in 3.2. It's a total aux subsystem power bonus of 8. Offensive subsystem tuning, weapons and engines. Things beneath it, weapons and engines. Over here on science, exotic particle generator. Particle generators. Do you use science powers? Do you have abilities that do damage? Yes. Boom. It says the math and all that stuff, but it's basically, if it's not your weapon and it does damage, it uses exotic particles. If you use a Vesta and you have what I call the belly beam or the quantum field focus phaser that shoots out of your deflector dish, guess what? The exotic particle damage. If you use that quantum phaser set thing that has another what I call a belly beam, it's the other one that actually drains power. Exotic particle damage. It's also phaser damage, so a phaser console helps that one too. So I'm a science vessel, 1, 2, 3. Put it all in there. Long range targeting sensors. This is new, and I can see how this is confusing to what it is. This has always been in the game. This compensation has not. You can fire at things from 10 kilometers away, all the way up to 0 kilometers. You can literally be high at something and still fire. The thing is, outside of 2 kilometers, you start losing overall weapon power, and it decreases to 50% of the damage you're doing at exactly 10 kilometers. So if you're at 10 kilometers from the crystalline entity, you're doing half damage with your weapons. With all damage. All energy weapons. So not torpedoes. But that's the thing. What this does is this reduces the maximum distance penalty. Minus 40%, minus 30%, minus 20%. So I now do 30% damage instead of 50% damage. Okay, no, I do 80% damage at 10 kilometers, not 50%. That makes sense? That's what these things, it's 40, 30, 20. So it's linear actually for this one. You put 1 point into it, suddenly at 10 kilometers you're doing 60% damage. At this one you're doing 70% damage. At this one you're doing 80% damage. You're still not doing full damage, but you can get to 5 kilometers away from something and do a whole ton more damage than you would be before. That's what this long-range targeting sensors is, and I hope that one was fairly simple, but it's a new concept. Not a lot of people actually knew it happened in the game. Very few tactical officers knew, and if you're ever wondering why there's an escort that's up on something's butt blasting away, and you're like, dude, you don't need to be that close. We're yeah, they do. That's also how they get big numbers, is they get within 2 kilometers. So now they can be a little bit farther away. They're still gonna be up something's butt, a horned up dog. Anyway. Hull penetration. I don't have any points in this one. This is very... Each point grants armor penetration. Armor penetration causes your weapons to behave as the target's damage resistance rating is lower than their actual value. It combats damage resistance rating. That's what this does. And it's hull penetration 1, 2, and 3. This is shield weakening. Basically, it negates their shield hardness. By default, most enemy starship shields will prevent 90% of the damage dealt by your weapons from reaching the hull, and apply this damage instead to their shields. For each point shield weakening skill, the resulting damage applied to the shield will be increased by 0.1%. Note, the damage applied to shields for most mines and torpedoes will then be reduced by 75% due to innate shield resistance to kinetic damage. It hits their shields more. You want to knock the hell out of something's shields faster, you get shield weakening. That's shield weakening, 1, 2, 3. And it scales up to plus 10% additional shield damage. That's that. Now down here at Admiral, where things get real confusing. Warp core potential. This is literally bonus sub power for all subsystem powers. It's just like the level above, but this is for everything. And then you've got improved warp core potential, which is another all, then warp core efficiency, which is when your subsystem power gets low. It says here, the bonus starts at 0 when your subsystem target is set to 75 and scales up to +10 when your subsystem target is set to 15. If you're running like drastically weird power levels, this is probably a benefit for you. If you're running sort of even everything, this could be a benefit for you. But most people run really high weapons and really low engines or whatnot, so this could be beneficial because it'll boost your engines a little bit, or this is kind of a weird thing to use. I had points in it before, but engineering readiness. Now, I'm gonna skip the other two because they're exactly the same. We're just gonna go over engineering. This skill provides a bonus to your ability recharge for all engineering bridge officer ability. For each point in engineering readiness skill, these abilities will recharge 0.2% faster. 100% ability recharge would reduce an ability's recharge time to half of its base value. So if it takes 5 minutes to recharge, it'll be 2.5 minutes to recharge. Get it? This is not procced by anything. This is just a static ability. This is 10% recharge time, 17% recharge time, 20% recharge time. That's that. There's nothing more. It's your engineering bridge officer abilities are 20% faster. So if you have a lot of bridge officer slots for engineering, you may want to pick up some points on this. Again, over here, scientific readiness, same thing. This one way over here, tactical readiness, same thing. If you got a lot of tactical bridge officer abilities, boom, you're gonna want that. If you have a predominance of one ability on your bars, then you're probably going to want to pick up the readiness for that. All right, over here, shield mastery. This is a weird proccing ability as this happens. Shield mastery. Basically, every several seconds, you will gain shield mastery. You'll get a buff. While this effect is active, the next critical hit I suffer will be completely negated, which is awesome, resulting in 0 damage being dealt to you. This act will also consume the shield mastery until the next time it refreshes. And negate an incoming critical hit once per 20 seconds. So it refreshes every 20 seconds, which is fine. These two things modify that buff. When shield mastery is triggered, when the buff goes away, by an incoming critical hit, you also restore a portion of your shields. On shield mastery trigger, when the buff goes away, up to 20% of incoming critical damage applied to shield healing to all facings. That's pretty cool. It's not a defined shield heal, but it's great. And then shield reflection. On shield mastery trigger, up to 20% of incoming critical damage reflected to the attacker. Who knows, when you get hit by a big ability like the Nakul's little thing that hits your shields once, if you have shield reflection up, that just could completely negate the damage and that gets reflected back to them. I think I've seen it happen a couple times and they've just been obliterated. And then over here in tactical, coordination protocols. I've got a couple points in this one because I like helping the team a little bit. Increases survivability of hangar pets and other allies. If you use pets, put it in there. 20% hull capacity and shield capacity for hangar pets, plus 5% hull capacity and shield capacity for all other teammates and summoned allies. Meaning photonic shockwave, photonic fleet. Down here, defensive coordination. Again, hangar pets, and this is defensive and damage resistance rating for hangar pets, defense and damage resistance for all teammates. If you like to be more of a defensive person, like if you're a tank, you're probably going to want this, just because it'll provide, it works with synergy to the command specialization. Offensive coordination, bonus accuracy and damage to hangar pets, and then accuracy and damage to all other abilities, to all other team members. And then tactical readiness, we've been over that one. That's all the skills there is. Now, I'm going to explain this whole system down here. This is, like I said, this is kind of where it gets a bit confusing. So as you put points in, just like with the specialization, just like with your pilot, command, intel specialization, this bar grows. And every time it hits a point, you get something. If it's a double ability, you get a flat new ability. You get choice of selection. For in this case, you got to put, and this is like 5 points, 8 points. I forget how many points it was exactly, but it's like hangar health or battery expertise. This is engineering points. Well, I chose hangar health because I don't really use devices that much. I mean, I do, but I prefer my hangar pets to live longer. The skill training that you used to have for captains is in here. Down here, bridge officer training. Now this applies to your specialization. So if you're putting points into engineering and you get this, if you are a tactical officer, you'll be able to train your bridge officers in mine dispersal pattern beta 3. That's how all of this works. Oh, it's 2 ability points for this specialization. And then once you put up more, you get the hangar health. And then this one, bridge officer training. Again, if you're a tactical officer, attack pattern omega 3 for your bridge officer. Again, maximum hull capacity. It's just these are like small augments to stuff you already may do. And then bridge officer training again, if you're a tactical officer, but you're putting points into engineering, attack pattern beta 3. Then that moves up to engine subsystem power or shield subsystem power, more bridge officer training. Weapon power, aux power. So it's sort of like if you really like your shields and weapons because you're a tank, then you can put, and you're putting points in engineering, shield subsystem power. And then you could put points into weapon subsystem power because you don't really use aux much. If you put 25 points in, and we'll go, and this is how it works down here with science. Sector space travel, put like 8 points into science, which is like shield restoration, shield capacity. Like you don't have to do much and you can get sector space travel speed increase. That's it. Transwarp cooldown reductions. I don't use my transwarp much. And then further up here, maximum shield capacity or starship stealth. That's how you get better stealth. Not that it really matter. Starship perception or control resistance. I don't really need to see cloaked things, but I prefer more control resistance. And then I chose shield drain resistance versus subsystem energy. I don't get a lot of subsystem drain stuff, but I know the Borg really like to do that shield draining. But, and you just pick one or the other, hangar weaponry. That's just how this goes. The top abilities is when you spend 24 points. Weird number, I know, but it's 24 points in one of the 3 trees. You get to the end with a super ability is what I call it. It's the ultimate ability. For engineering, it's EPS corruption. Basically, it's a dot. It's just like Aceton Beam, except it's got a 360-degree arc. You basically burn their EPS system alive, causing them to burn out components over time. Activating directed energy weapons also will cause the victim to suffer additional plasma damage as the corrupted EPS is fed additional power. Then you've got the little abilities, and if you put more and more points into tactical engineering or science, you will get to modify the ultimate. It's an enhancer. So you can pick all 3. So it's weakening corruption, which is energy weapon activation, also triggers subsystem power loss on the foe. I've seen it on my other character. You put that on there and then they fire a bunch of weapons at you. They will get that stacked to like 15 and I think it's like minus 2.1 per application. So they've just lost 30 power because they decided to shoot weapons at me and they basically become ineffective. Or enhanced corruption, more powerful dot. If you got the 1 point and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna use it as an Aceton Beam, dot. Explosive corruption. Additional plasma damage triggered by weapon activation becomes an AoE. And this is every time they fire a weapon. They will explode. This happens every so often. It doesn't happen all the time, but it's like once every 2 seconds. Something like that. I've read the tooltip. So that's what that is. For science, it's probability manipulation. For a small window of time, you can force the universe to see things your way and vastly increase your the chance that every bit of damage done to your foe will be a critical hit. Modifications of that one are probability, shell, hull healing and shield healing also doubled for 15 seconds. Probability penetration, foes suffer a stacking damage resistance rating when debuff when crit. I don't crit much, didn't put a point into it. Probability window, increase the duration of probability manipulation, which is from 15 to 30 seconds. I figured I'd just rather crit for a hell of a lot longer. For tactical, it's focus frenzy. You mark the foe, devote all available resources to taking them down. Each time you hit the marked foe with an energy weapon, your weapon firing cycles will speed up progressively faster and faster. Ultimate enhancers, frenzied reactions, also reduce bridge officer cooldowns with each hit. Frenzied assault, also gain stacking damage bonus with each hit. Team Frenzy, allies firing on your marked foe will also gain stacks of frenzy with associated benefits. So frenzied assault with the frenzied thing, you're basically firing faster and with more damage on something. So if you've got like cannon rapid fire 3 with your 4 cannons, your 5 cannons up front, your 3 turrets in the back, and you're at 3 kilometers or something, you're just gonna you are going to murder this thing. But you have to put 25 points into it. That's that. That's the skill set. I know this is a long video, but I needed to explain this entire system. Ground is, oh God. Ground is even simpler. It's just max hit points 2.0. Bonus armor 2.0. Health regeneration 2.0. Weapon damage 2.0. Weapon crit 2.0. And armor pen 2.0. The ground is stupid simple. You know, they've even got the whole kit performance here. Kit performance, which is damage, duration, it's just everything that involves a kit ability is increased. Kit performance master, kit performance 2.0. Kit efficiency, how fast their cooldowns go, 1 and 2. That's that. And then personal shield expert, 1 and 2, and then shield resilience, or damage negated by shields, 1 and 2. That's that. Specializations, I shit you not. Here, let's look at intelligence officer. It is exactly the same as it used to be. I'm not going over that. And down at the bottom of ground, you don't really have a choice, or you have a choice every couple points, which is just all of these. I'm not really going to go over it. You can just, that's how it goes. I will catch you guys next week. Please, if there's any other question you have about this, I can answer them. I know this skill thing really well. Please comment below. Like this if this was really helpful. Subscribe. I'll put a Star Trek Online video out every Tuesday. I'll catch you guys next week. Bye.